Radiant team back.
Alright folks, welcome to the Premier League Radiance Cup. This is TPL Season 5, it is our 4th cup. Skipped a week there, we did have some schedule conflicts, but here we are. 23rd of June, the 4th cup, Radiance, the defending champions, Alliance, so they won the 3rd cup. And here they are to defend their title, quarterfinals, best of 1 against Kaipi. I'm Vykromond. I am standing in for Blaze. He is out celebrating his anniversary with his wife, so congratulations to him, of course. And you will have a returning caster, TriumphOfMan. How you doing, my friend?
I'm feeling good. Yes, it's true. Alliance did win the last cup. However, we've got to keep in mind that this is a league. So technically, Alliance are only in second place on 150 points. EG are currently leading the pack on 160. And I noticed in the chat some people were saying Kaipi are out if they lose this. Not necessarily. It comes down to who... It comes down to how Fnatic and Virtus Pro do. Like, technically speaking, a team could come and replace, say, Rox, Kiss, or Kaipi, one of the two lowest scoring teams right now. And they could still make it to the playoffs in 4th spot as long as they did well in the last 3 cups. Because, you know, if Fnatic and Virtus Pro keep getting knocked out in the early rounds and don't score any points, you could quite easily tie them up on 50 points or overtake them even. But it looks like we're going to have, a few standings tonight. But Kaipi going to open up with a Batrider pick there, and they're going to let the Lone Druid go through and a tree ban. Pick. Yeah. What's this?
So I guess Trian is really growing in esteem to the level of first banning now in all sorts of parts of the Western scene. He sort of made his big debut at the Western qualifiers. Before that, he was a very, very fringe pick. I think Empire picked him up once or twice. LGD International picked him once, and it was a disaster. But then it really, I guess, took until Quantic started taking him, and now he's super popular. But of course, yeah, I think Triumph, as you pointed out, the Lone Druid goes through, and I mean, also Lifestealer, even in his nerfed state, Loda loves playing this hero, and Alliance pick up 2 very strong heroes right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the lifesteal. It impacts his laning phase a bit, but generally speaking, we often see him used in some form, either offensive or defensive tri-lane, so he's got other heroes to open up with a stun to let him get within range for open wounds, and of course, his mid-game is still as spectacular as ever. I just want to talk about the tree. I mean, some people have been saying that Tree... He's a weird pick. He doesn't do a whole early in terms of offensive power, but what he does is lets you play a lot more greedy than usual and lets you have those 3 core heroes a lot more easily, so that offlaner can farm a lot more easily because you've always got that healing armor on demand, so you can make sure that they can basically sustain a lot more damage than usual.
Yeah, I mean,
and I know Loda, or even the mid. I mean, Loda was bitching. You remember that particular game where they had poor S4 in mid against the OD. I mean, yeah, he is really, really painful to try and fight against in that situation. It can make someone who's hard to kill almost impossible to kill.
I think what Loda said on Twitter was that makes you want to uninstall when you're facing an Outworld Devourer with living armor on him. And I mean, Tree, a hero that doesn't bring much to the... He brings a little bit to the lane he's in, but what he does to the solo lanes is basically supercharge them. I mean, if you've ever been on a mid lane hero or an off lane hero and been like, well, if only this hero had all of its abilities and also Templar Assassin's Refraction, it would be a good hero. That's pretty much what Tree gives you. But nonetheless, yeah, banned out along with the IO by Alliance, and Kaipi instead grabbing up this Bane, so a hero... it gives them a good solid support option heading into the second ban phase, so most likely we're going to see Kaipi take out supports that Alliance would possibly use now. And then it's also, of course, good against both Lifestealer and Lone Druid. How do you feel about both these teams' drafts so far, Triumph?
I feel pretty... I'm looking at Kaipi. I'm just wondering whether or not they're going to go with the usual business. They tend to go for a fairly late game-oriented build. They like to have their big right-click carry in there. So I'm kind of expecting to see something like a Void or an Anti-Mage slip through. That said, we'll probably see the Void if they ban out the Rubik, just because you really don't want to have Rubik on demand stealing your... Chronospheres is very easy to take out. Alliance, on the other hand, I mean, this is, I mean, next to Stock Xanathar, Lifestealer and Lone Druid, I mean, 2 of probably the most played heroes. The only thing we're not going to, or, you know, we still have the other thing, of course, we still have Aki's Chen on the board as well. So Alliance, they could even grab that Chen. I mean, Lifestealer, Lone Druid, and Chen together, that's going to be an incredibly difficult team to take out. It's going to have so much attrition value there. And, of course, they could force... I mean, with that kind of line, they could force fights really early on. The question, I think, the only thing that really remains is whether or not they're going to bother with some kind of mobility hero for the Nakes bombs, or if they're just going to say, you know what, screw it, we'll just let the bear siege and have the Lifestealer there to move in afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I think they probably ban Chen with their 4th ban. I'd be surprised if they didn't do that, because, I mean, as you pointed out, it would just be an incredibly strong combination for Alliance. Of course, there's only some extent to which you can counterpick them. I mean, everybody has either an extremely deep hero pool, like your EGMs of the world, or enough of a deep hero pool that you can't just ban every single possible hero that they could play. So I do agree. I think the Chen ban more likely than not here for Kaipi, but that still leaves a lot of heroes that Alliance can use effectively in the pool. I do like the Disruptor ban as well. This is something that this is another hero on the upswing. I feel some teams are using him frequently, some teams are barely using him at all. But Alliance, definitely, they've had EGM. They won a game off of Maus in a recent tournament that was pretty much entirely on Disruptor's back.
I mean, Disruptor's got some really nice... And the other thing, he's really difficult to lane against, just especially if you're by yourself, or even in the trial vs trial, because he can drag you out of position so easily. So it's really difficult to even get close just to try and CS at a distance, just because it's just such a threat. You know, you were standing somewhere, and then 4 seconds later, you're back exactly where out of position, then getting slammed. But they're going to pick up a Keeper of the Light. I find this an interesting choice. Don't normally see that much out of them with it, but I mean, it could work, I guess.
Well,
I mean, they're gonna. I mean, this is the thing. Like, that's gonna give them a lot of push power, I guess, and that's what they're going for. I really thought that they would just say, you know what, let's get Chen in here before they ban it out, because they do so well with it. But they've decided, let's get the big nuke in here instead. Let's get that Illuminate to just completely mask of waves of creeps as they try and push. And even trying to defend against a siege, having that Keeper Light hanging around at the back, just spamming Illuminates at you, is really frustrating. And around about the 25-30 minute mark.
Exactly.
Oops.
So Kaipi take Visage. This is a pretty common Kaipi pick, I feel, but they don't have their usual Visage player, I don't think. It doesn't look like Come With Me is in this game, but still a strong hero, actually pretty strong against Keeper of the Light. If you take your Grave Keeper's Cloak a little earlier than you normally would, that does actually give you quite a bit of room to resist the Illuminate. My thought with the Keeper of the Light was just maybe they'll take another mana-dependent support, run a tri-lane, and then have the Lone Druid solo safe. What do you think about that?
I don't honestly know if they're going to... I mean, Alliance, they tend not to go for the offensive trialing. It's really just not their thing. They could, I mean, it's definitely... Alliance, I think if they feel like they were trying to be... Like, if they thought Kaipi were trying to counterpick them, then I think they'd see that sort of rotation. But I don't think Kaipi are trying to do this at the moment. So I'm pretty sure they'll go for their usual suspects. Lone Druid will be played by Bulldog in the off lane. They won't try and rotate into anything like the safe lane or anything crazy. Puck is going to be S4 in the mid, more than likely. We're going to see Lifestealer being played by Loda in the safe lane, backed up by Aki and EGM. I think Aki in this case might take the Keeper of the Light, and we'll see what EGM goes for. I do agree with the Visage. Yeah, like we've seen Come With Me practically carry games with his Visage, even when Envy's really struggling with Void, we've seen him completely carry games with that Visage. That said, not here, so I'm not sure how they're going to go with it. And I mean, Stomper, what's your... We know Universe, of course, but I haven't seen Stomper before, and I haven't seen What's Your Name.
Is that really his name, too? I mean, I don't... I guess he's intentionally being cryptic with the name, but nonetheless. Yeah, I mean, Kaipi... Do you think they're likely to sort of pick up a second farming-type hero for Universe now and just have Eternal Envy on the Phantom Lancer and then Universe on an alternate farming hero? Or is Universe going to take more of sort of a supportive role and we'll see sort of more standard Kaipi... for Protect 1-ish, with the supports generating a lot of kill opportunities?
I think we're probably going to see that for Protect 1. I mean, we've got the Cancer Lancer there, so I don't think they're going to go with anything else, just because Phantom Lancer not that great early on. Unless you get a huge rolling start and get that Diffusal Blade out really early, and then, of course, you know, proccing Illusions can do a disgusting amount of damage. And, of course, Purge is always really good for ganking if you want to get aggressive, but I think it's more than likely they're just going to sit down and try and farm towards the late game. That said, looking at that lineup, the Lifestealer, backed up by Puck, of course. Puck can deliver the Lifestealer. There's a mobility hero that they wanted. Keeper Light, Lone Druid, I just don't really see them holding the line long enough for Phantom Lancer to get rolling. I mean, he does need a fair amount of farm. Even if he gets a really good start, like he goes really well against Lone Druid and gets a ton of farm, I don't see him lasting long enough, because he does take... Like, he doesn't just need items, he also needs levels, because you've got to give him those levels for his massive agility gain to kick in, so he really gets that damage and extra high armor. And I just don't think we're going to see that amount of time given to them by Alliance.
Yeah, I think it's a question of whether or not Kaipi can... They can't just sort of passively sit back, I think, and hope that Phantom Lancer is just going to farm unimpeded, because sooner or later you're going to start seeing the Puck rotate in. Puck Lifestealer can blow up your Phantom Lancer extremely quickly. You get the Illusory Orb, Lifestealer pops out, and it's as if the Phantom Lancer was never there. But that said, I do like the opportunity in Kaipi to maybe generate pressure on Alliance and get more farm for Eternal Envy that way. Like, not just leave him alone, but actually use the Visage Bane Batrider cluster to generate some kills and really pressure Alliance. So if they can do that, I think then you might see the Phantom Lancer be able to sort of blossom into his own. But if they have trouble actually generating those opportunities, it's gonna be really, really scary, because S4 will do great on Puck, and obviously Lifesteal and Lone Druid provides two separate carry opportunities for Alliance.
Yeah, my biggest worry is, like, even if they get him off to a good start, my biggest worry is when Alliance decide to 5v5. Right now, Kaipi just don't have that sort of team fight potential. Sure, you've got the Bane with a bit of lockdown. Batrider can throw out some lockdown, but Puck opens up with a great initiation. He gets in there with a Dream Call, Waning Rift, lets loose Lifesteal in the middle of your lines. It's just... they don't really have a huge counter initiation value here. There's nobody to really just sit down and completely turn the fight around. You don't have that Tidehunter ult. You don't have the Chronosphere. Nothing to counter initiate with. And this could be, I think, the biggest problem for them right now. But we'll see what their 5th pick is. That could completely fix their issues. So we'll see in a moment. But Alliance now with the last pick, I think they're just going to grab their last support here for EGM or Aki, depending who's playing what.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a little bit of time. Both teams actually digging fairly deep into their reserve time here, but there's still a pretty wide pool that Alliance could select from. They go with Rubik, so most likely I think EGM, Rubik, Ake, Keeper of the Light, and Rubik presents a number of good options here. He's a soft, not a counter to Bane, but he's pretty good against Bane. You end up with your Bane having to make very fraught decisions about whom exactly to Fiend's Grip. If you don't Fiend's Grip the Rubik, odds are more likely than not he just takes your Fiend's Grip. He can TK you right out of that Fiend's Grip and then Fiend's Grip on your team. So this fills out their lineup quite nicely, I think. But yeah, on the flip side, I don't really see this being an aggressive try. As you said, it's most likely to be Lifestealer, Keeper of the Light, Rubik, and then Lone Druid facing up against the Kaipi tri-lane.
Yeah, there we go. We're going to have Universe taking that solo mid-roll most likely. I like this. I mean, they needed some team fight potential. Queen of Pain might give them the firepower they need to basically make Alliance sort of think twice about jumping in. That said, they still don't have the same initiation value that Alliance have, and I think this is going to be the biggest undoing. Alliance, as soon as S4, if he gets that early Blink Dagger, gets mobile, he's going to be able to open up these fights and just basically crack Kaipi wide open, so Alliance can feast on them very, very easily. So that's my biggest fear here, because Queen of Pain, she's got a ton of damage, but she doesn't have that lockdown or disable, or even just something as simple as a silence to stop them from basically blowing her to pieces. So I think it's going to be their biggest problem. And like you said, their biggest lockdown, their most reliable lockdown there is in the form of Bane, but of course, Bane, he's up against a Rubik, and that is a big issue for him.
Yeah, not an easy matchup. Alright, looking towards the teams, we do have Kaipi on the Radiant, Alliance on the Dire. I'll quickly introduce Kaipi, and then you go ahead and grab up that Alliance. For Kaipi, the tri-lane composed of Eternal Envy on the Phantom Lancer, Stampa standing in, will be filling on the Visage, What's Your Name on the Bane. Then we will have Bone 7, most likely, it looks like most likely a jungle role on this Batrider. And then Universe in the solo mid, of course sitting in, Dignitas, not part of TPL, so he can stand in legally for this team. He will be on the Queen of Pain mid.
And look at this, Alliance has decided to completely switch things up. We've got Admiral Bulldog going to be playing the Lone Druid, no surprises, but he's in the safe lane. EGM, Loda, and Aki are going for an offensive tri-lane down the bottom, and then of course S4, the only real solid stand-in here, the solid usual suspect here is of course taking the solo mid Puck. So we will have an offensive tri-lane here from Alliance, and the question is, are Kaipi going to expect it? I guess, I mean, Keeper, of course, is going to cause a ton of issues with his Illuminate. He can cause a ton of damage against them, and whether or not they're going to be caught out of it. Either way, this is really going to impact on Envy's ability to farm. Lone Druid is going to get complete free farm at the top, but with Batrider, oh no, Batrider is actually going... No, he wouldn't be laning with those items, so he's just checking for rooms. No, he will be jungling with that most likely, I believe. He'll wind up there, and I mean, with 4v1, maybe they can help. Maybe they can really mess him up there.
Now that they've seen the... I think Bat just saw the Lone Druid bear. Now that they've actually seen the bear, I wouldn't be shocked if he just went into the solo lane against Lone Druid. It's an okay matchup. In fact, Batrider can pressure him levels 1 through 4, and then it really only starts getting very scary when you're at about level 5. I'm getting a bit of in-game lag, but hopefully that'll clear up in a second. So, this solo lane Lone Druid in the safe is something I've seen Alliance do a bit more lately. The opportunity there is that you can get a pretty quick Radiance. So sometimes they'll have Bulldog just rush up that Radiance, and that could be very powerful against this Kaipi squad, frankly. You've got some relatively squishy heroes like Bane. Batrider, if he picks up a fast Blink Dagger, and Lone Druid picks up a fast Radiance, that Blink Dagger becomes less and less effective unless you really get the jump on the opposing team. So it could be effective. Right now we do have What's Your Name taking Enfeeble first on this Bane Elemental, and that of course makes it much, much harder for Loda to last hit, and so... Taking everything together, now that Alliance have made this decision to run the aggressive try, how do you feel about this try versus try situation?
I think it should work out fine for Alliance, although that's Aki is taking a lot of creep price. They need to be careful, mostly just because they can like right now the bigger kill potential I believe is on Alliance's side. The fact that they've got the telekinesis, they can just grab someone and then drop them in the middle of an Illuminate is very, very problematic there for Kaipi. And also the fact that they want to be pulling, like right now Kaipi, they want to be pulling and basically doing a lot of jungle work in there. And even if they do get the pulls off successfully, and leave Eternal Ambient a bit of pressure there and against two heroes, of course, Aki can always just jump over to the jungle and fire off an Illuminate at it and start stealing CS off the support. So I think this is going to work out fairly well for Alliance. Of course, the CSing situation with Loda is going to be a bit of a pain in the ass, the fact that he's getting enfeebled all the time. But that said, the fact that Batrider isn't really going to be able to slow down Bulldog all that much, and if he gets, like you said, the fast Radiance, that is really, really going to hurt. So I think most of their money here is on Bulldog.
Definitely. And I also think one thing that we have to watch in this game is definitely the puck. As you highlighted earlier, the potential to just silence up large portions of Kaipi. Every single Kaipi person wants to be almost constantly casting. And so a silence can just completely screw up the field of play. Bone 7 actually getting harassed back to tower already in this top lane, so not the easiest time for Batrider. Of course, Admiral Bulldog picked up that quick orb of Venom on Lone Druid. Such a great item for that 1v1 matchup. Slow the enemy, deal chip damage over time, and just always send that bear forward and harass him, and it's been very effective. But Universe is pretty muscular in this mid lane too, of course. Queen of Pain versus Puck, a matchup that's not really that tilted one direction or the other, and Universe is making the best of it, taking a few extra towers here, but the last hit's pretty balanced, 9 for 5, 8 for 4. Do you think Universe can actually get a kill here, or is it just going to be about preventing S4 from farming too much?
I think he's just going to be trying to slow down S4, although that said, Bane is showing up here. S4 now, he's got his bottle, he should be able to regen. I mean, the only reason he was particularly low is he's a little bit slow to get the bottle couriered out there. As you see down the bottom line, again, those Illuminates being spammed left. I mean, he's just basically firing them off with absolute abandon. Doesn't really care. He's going to hit something eventually. But yeah, like you said, I mean, right now, Puck is going to be that delivery method for Loda. So even if Loda doesn't get a lot of farm here, it's not going to be too bad because, right, believe it or not, Lifestealer has a fair amount of steroids just in his skill. He's got Feast, which does a lot of damage off the few initial hits, and then of course he's got the attack speed that comes off Rage as well. So, and he doesn't need the magic immunity either. He has it built in, so he can do fairly well with just like one core item, with just say the armlet and some treads. He can do a lot of damage if you set him up with a Puck. As we see Aki almost get wiped out down to the bottom lane. Now, but EGM coming to the rescue there with the telekinesis. But I feel fairly confident that even if Loda doesn't get a lot of farm here, it's not going to matter too much. He's going to have a ton of damage comparatively to, say, the Phantom Lancer. He's not going to be able to do a whole lot comparatively in these fights. They happen around the 25 to 30 minute mark.
Yeah, but so far I would say Alliance have to be pretty happy with what they've done. Mostly with the tri-lane, right? I mean, you've got this Phantom Lancer who's still stuck at 4 last hits. I mean, even if Lifestealer weren't farming well, I think Alliance would be very, very happy overall. And meanwhile, Universe, I mean, he hasn't really attempted a gank yet. Queen of Pain, of course, not the easiest hero to gank with in the first few levels. You've got a long blink cooldown, you're just trying to get runes and dominate the mid, and as a result, I mean, there's really no lane in which I think Kaipi can feel like they're winning. I mean, they're hanging on, but you rely on this on EE to sort of get farm here, and I mean, as you pointed out, he's not really doing it. Should they change something, or should Kaipi just keep on sort of keeping on and maybe try to get a kill in this bottom lane?
Well, the problem is, I mean, I don't want to ride S4's back too much, but the problem is, I think Universe is doing the right thing. Like you said, Queen of Pain doesn't gank that well, unless she gets an amazing rune down bottom and like, the opportunity just happens to present itself with the stars aligning. I think what she's doing here, staying mid, is the right choice, just mostly to make sure S4 doesn't free farm a whole bunch of waves, and because if he gets that fast blink, things are just going to go from bad to worse, and I think right now what they're doing, just hanging on is okay. I think they should just wait on Batrider as well as Queen of Pain to get their early items in their early levels just to make sure that they can guarantee those kills. Because the Queen of Pain, jumps in at level 5 with no ult, sort of half health, she's been taking a bit of harass. There's the opportunity for everything to backfire on the bottom lane. If that happens, then it's really difficult for them to catch up. Whereas right now, hanging on is okay, and just waiting for them to get their core items, I think, and core levels is the better option. Just to guarantee those kills later on.
I think they're doing okay as far as XP goes, and in fact, I think the defensive try is getting slightly better XP, but overall, just because Lone Druid has been able to harass Batrider out of XP range so much, Alliance still having the advantage overall. I mean, this is a Lone Druid who's level 6, almost 7 now, facing up against a Batrider who's not even quite up to Lasso, and Batrider really won't even have the solo killing opportunity when he gets Lasso. The best they can hope for is Universe comes up to this lane and harasses Bulldog, but so far, I mean, Bulldog farming very, very well up here, between 6 and 7 last hits per minute, which is pretty good when you're not in a complete free farm lane. And so, I mean, do you think they'll go the fast Radiance or something else for Bulldog?
He could go the fast range. He might possibly try the Battle Bear, like the new Battle Bear, or rather old Battle Bear, where they go for the Maelstrom. I think that's also a possibility, just because to get the Bear's damage out there quickly. But that said, for team fighting power, I think the Radiance is probably a better choice. That said, Bulldog is Bulldog, and he might do his own thing. But down the bottom line, looks like we have a bit of a gank telekinesis there on Bane. Bane being thrown backwards, though, towards EGM. Gets the Nightmare down. There comes the Scream for Queen of Pain. They will pick off the Rubik, and there's your first blood. There's the rotation. That's what they needed. I think this is exactly what they needed to do. Just wait for Alliance to get a little too cocky and then pick him off.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good rotation, good TP in. Of course, Universe coming in, it's a lot of damage that it can deliver in a short time, and Alliance were pretty far forward there. They had just used open wounds on a hero. Maybe Loda felt that they could try to be a little more aggressive, so... First blood secured for the Queen of Pain. There's Bone 7 lassoing up Loda. He's in a lot of trouble here, sitting inside that Firefly. He uses Rage, trying to get away, uses Magic Stick charges already. He's still fairly high HP, yeah. Lifestealer walks away from this gank attempt. Bone 7, of course, was trying to use, I think, an Invis rune there. But no luck, and they did rotate 2 over. They get first blood, but do you think this really changes the game? Have Kaipi earned a bit of an advantage here, or is it just sort of a temporary reprieve from the Rubik?
Well, I mean, they got the first blood, but it was on Rubik. They really need to kill the more core heroes. The problem is, every time they step away like that, they rotated all 5 to bottom against 3. And while they do that, they leave Lone Druid, Bulldog free farming up the top lane, and of course S4 free farming mid lane. So we got to keep that in mind. Every time they rotate that many heroes, it is like they've got to make sure they get some really, really good kills in there. And they only picked off 1 support, so not optimal. So that said, I mean, any kill is good. And right now, Universe as well as Bone, they probably want to start laying the hurt on Bulldog. They need to pick him off a couple of times just to try and slow him down. Looks like he's going to pick up an early tower here, though, Vic.
Clever little pincer motion here from S4. He comes up behind the Bane, who's trying to come in to help. There's the Waning Rift. Dream Coil up already. What's your name taking a lot of damage? Yeah, that's going to be a fairly easy kill for S4. What they did here was really just trap the Bane. He tries to come defend the tower or maybe get a deny. And Bulldog from the front, S4 from the back, and pretty much an easy kill. And of course, the rotation away of Universe gave S4 a lot of room to breathe, I feel. Now he's up a bit in terms of last hits, and they each have a kill that they participated in. Did Universe actually get the kill credit? No, so he got an assist as well. And I think that puts Alliance... I mean, if you're relying on your puck to sort of get these big silences and big team fights in the mid-game, having a start this good is definitely a good step towards that.
Yeah, definitely. That's it. I mean, Puck at no point has really been outlane that battle. He's always been within a couple or even more creep kills of Universe, so it's not been too much of an issue for him in that lane. And Queen of Pain now, what does she manage to pick up? She's got a regenerate, and Puck, of course, ahead. I mean, just looking at that kill, like, Puck, of course, set up a kill on the top line. I think what the Bane did, like, he thought he was okay. They didn't really see the Puck coming around, because Bane against the Lone Druid should be fine, just because he can Nightmare the Bear and just keep it out of his face if he's going there to try and sneak in the deny. So what he did was kind of the right thing, but at the same time just didn't expect that Puck ganking him like that. So again, smart move from S4 there, but bottom lane, how is Envy doing? Envy on 20 CS at the moment, definitely still struggling at the 10 or nearly 10-minute mark. Yeah. That is not a great look for your Phantom Lancer. Loda now up to 56 and 13. Now the pressure that every time, unfortunately, every time Stomper pulls back here to pull away, this puts so much extra pressure on Envy and just leaves Loda free to last hit a whole bunch of waves, especially with Bane also rotating down at the top lane to try and slow down Lone Druid. This is pretty much free farm now for Loda. He can get all of the CS here very, very easily.
Yeah, it's 2 lanes worth of free farm, really, and when that happens, you're in really, really tough shape as Kaipi when you have essentially your only hardcore farming hero not able to farm that well. It could be worse, frankly, but not that much worse. And meanwhile, Alliance, Loda just getting all the farm he could possibly want, and not much that Kaipi can do about this until they have either Fiend's Grip or a rotation from Bone 7. Sometimes Universe, but even then, maybe they kill a support. They really need Bone 7 to have a shot at Loda, or Fiend's Grip up on the Bane. And What's Your Name is not really getting that XP. They don't want to take too much away from Envy on the Phantom Lancer. I want to do a quick PSA. We are aware that there's like a pretty bad frame rate issues. It's weird because I haven't had this issue in a very long time or at all, but I'll address it ASAP, just not while things are actually happening.
Well, keep in mind, Twitch has been having a few issues the last couple of days, so who knows?
Sure it could have... Not Twitch.
Oh, okay.
I'm willing to take the heat for this one. I don't want the Twitch TV people to be unnecessarily blamed for things that aren't their fault.
Fair enough. Looks like Puck is thinking about killing Bone 7 in the jungle. He's been pinging him for a while. He's been scouting him out too, waiting for some help to revive. However, he's in the middle of enemy territory. A whole bunch of... did he see? He must have seen Bane. I think he's going to think twice about it. They try and hit him with an Illuminate. Not going to hit anything, though. It looks like, there we go. They're going to try and make the move now, but the teleport's coming. Universe is going to be coming. Bone Step now. Dream caught up. Puck taking a lot of damage to the neutrals. Going to try and jump in on Bone. Goes the opposite side. Dream Call will be enough to knock him out. Loader going to throw it at the open woods. EGM gets cleaned up, though. Blown apart there. Queen of Pain jumps in. She's still got Sonic Wave, though. Loader now. Rage in 8 seconds. Can he get away here? Cancel Lancer chucks in a Lance there. Illuminate's coming through, though. Going to deal a lot of damage here to Kaipi. The scream comes through. Loader going to get taken out by the Grave Chill as well, along with the Souls. But it looks like he will go down, and they only lose the Batrider in return.
Yeah,
I think a good trade there for Kaipi.
Yeah, I'd say they're fairly happy with that. The only real downside there was because they lose Bone 7 at a time when he's very, very close to his... He had essentially no reliable gold, and he was getting close to his Blink Dagger. So that'll maneuver him to a much slower Blink Dagger than he would otherwise get. They do lose a tower as well, because as you mentioned, Bulldog free farming to just a terrifying extent. 4,200 gold up on this Lone Druid. That's most of his Radiance already. Only 1 or 2 more minutes. He'll have that 13, 14-minute Radiance. And Internal Envy in a lot of trouble in the bottom. They'll quickly pick him off as they just saw, you know, all the supports are away, even for just a moment. Let's dive this Phantom Lancer, get this easy kill. And they really did. They had the dust up on Rubik, all the tools necessary. So in the end, I think that was a momentary reprieve for Kaipi, but they still find themselves in a ton of trouble. And God, I'm just lagging more and more. I may have to just pop out of the game for like a minute right now.
Okay, well, if you have to go, let me know. But, yeah, I mean, I was going to say they had a decent trade, but then, of course, Bulldog got that tower, and then, like you mentioned, Batrider just right before his blink. That is actually pretty painful for him. And another tower going to go down. Puck, though, going to teleport back to mid to defend against the push there as well, as we see a couple of small items being picked up. It looks like Aki picks up his Tranquil Boots as well. But now Loader, they're going to put the pressure on the jungle, make sure it's really hard to farm her, or will they? Or maybe they're just going to farm it themselves. But as long as Alliance are infesting the Radiant jungle, this is going to make it very difficult for even Bat to jump in here and get that bit of extra farm. So they're going to make sure, like right now, Alliance tapping a lot of sources of farm and really just leaving poor old Kaipi in the dirt here in terms of gold per minute. I mean, right now it's 13 minutes in and they already have a 7,500 gold lead. That is looking pretty grim for them. As we see Kaipi, they're going to smoke up though. I'm going to try and pick off S4 here as the blink in. There's the lasso as well. Rubico going to pick up with the telekinesis. Fiend's grip on top of him. They will blow S4 apart. But will the counterattack come in now with Loda?
Not quite. Fortunately, only rank 3 open wounds right now. Loda, this is what happens when you run an aggressive try. I mean, your levels aren't that fantastic, and of course, no 600 range from level 1. He couldn't find the open wounds. Maybe even didn't want to that much. It would have been a pretty scrappy fight with Puck already on the ground. So yeah, I mean, Kaipi delegating an enormous amount of resources to killing Puck there, but I can't blame them, honestly. They know that this Puck can do an enormous amount of work, and they want to prevent that if they can. Alright, this is my opportunity. I'm going to be right back, Triumph. Why don't you go ahead and commentate radio style of the game while I try to get this this lag under control.
I was just going to mention that, yeah, I don't think S4 will get caught out like that again. That was the first revelation of the Blink Dagger on Batrider, so he's not going to get caught out like that again now that he knows it's happening. But Tier 1 likely going to fall here. It doesn't look like Kaipi are going to mount a defense, or will they actually? Universe is sort of scoping it out. He's going to try and possibly jump in. I don't think he will, though. The telekinesis, the Puck is still there. The threat of Puck with a blink. I don't think they're going to try and defend this. They might just try and sneak in and deny here with the familiars. They'll throw it in there, and Visage will manage to pick it up. However, it is going to cost them Bane, possibly Visage as well. There goes the Dream Call as well. Rage up on Loader. They throw it in the familiars. Fiend's grip there on Stomper. He's managed to steal it, as it looks like EGM will get sent to sleep, though. Now we're going to have Universe blink out there, and they will trade the Visage. I think that's okay. Getting the deny in for the Visage kill could have been worse, although now we might have the Tier 2 get busted down, because here is the Radiance on the Bear. I don't really see what they can do to deal with this right now. Radiance on the Bear at 15 minutes in. Right now, even Queen of Pain, you look at her health, she is so squishy. She's not going to be able to stand up to that burn. She's only got 720 health, and she's got the boot switched to intelligence, right? I mean, she doesn't even have a magic wand at this point in time. Can't bottle either while the Radiance is burning away either. This is really not looking good. Meanwhile, though, Envy, and this is the issue, Phantom Lancer not being given enough time to farm. Just the fact they can push so easily and so heavily. We've got Phantom Lancer, who got crushed in the lane just because, of course, the tri-lane against them. Absolutely painful. People, by the way, if you are just jumping, Vic has just come back in. So if you're listening in-game, make sure you turn the broadcasters off and then on again. Fix it IT crowd style. Turn it off, then on again, and that will allow you to hear Vic once again. Vic, you're back, though.
I am back. Feels a bit better. Not great, but not terrible. Alright. So yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a gold advantage, I think, if you can get a deny in exchange for one, especially if it's one of your supports. It's honestly not too bad. Kaipi will have to be happy with that. And so far, I think the one big problem is, this is what happens when you're stuck, I feel, with 3 stand-ins, like, they're managing everything well except one big thing, which is the Lone Druid. And it's just, you feel like you have so many balls that you have to juggle in the air, and just that one gets loose, and then later on you have to pay for that. And Bulldog hasn't really been part of the game as such just yet, except taking down those 2 towers, but you can see this Lone Druid already feeling a lot more muscular now, coming into fights with this Radiance up. And only tier 1 boots, but once you have the Radiance, your farm really accelerates to a point where it's easy to add additional items on.
I'm going to be honest, I think the only way people really handle Bulldog's Lone Druid is by banning it. Can you think of it? I mean, I can't really think of any team that consistently manages to completely and utterly crush Bulldog in the lane and completely force him out of the game, because he has so many tricks up his sleeve. He's ridiculous. Yeah, you can see the Nightmare the Bear there. But I mean, yeah, there's that burn. What are they going to do about it?
Not a lot. And I mean, you can see Alliance already feeling quite confident moving up to high ground at 16.5 minutes. They've cleared out 5 outer towers, piercing the high ground. They couldn't be much happier with the way that the game is going right now. And against Phantom Lancer, that's exactly what you want. Put him in his base at 17 minutes. I mean, or ideally try to put him in his base. He can still try to farm other lanes, but sooner or later they'll have to send somebody back. Even through Enfeeble, the Bear is able to do pretty reasonable tower damage, almost half of it there. S4 TPing over, he's carrying a Lifestealer inside. There's the Dream Coil into Universe. He's going to try to pop out. No stun just yet. They actually do pick up the kill with 1 additional melee coming from Loda, and a close call. The Universe almost TP'd out safely. He did the exact right thing. Sometimes the exact right thing isn't quite enough.
I should also mention it's going to be extremely dangerous for even Envy to farm on its own now, just because they do have a gem. It's on the Lone Druid at the moment, so they will have that always there to basically allow them to gank. But I think more the fact that they've picked up this gem is for map control. And once they start shutting down all these wards, just pretty much you've got nowhere to farm, nowhere safe. You cannot sit anywhere on the map. And Phantom Lancer, I mean, if you're at 20 minutes in, you're stuck inside your base, basically you only farm like 2 feet out of your base, it is going to completely and utterly cripple him. So you see the Batrider though get telekinesis up there and blown to pieces in the mid lane.
Wow. He wasn't alive for very long at all. Just seemed like he turned his Firefly on and sort of saw what was going on. He saw what was incoming for him, and I guess it's better to see your death than not see it, but that's about all that he got there.
Like you said, I mean, Batrider, he's got a fairly high strength game for an intelligence hero, but if you don't buy those early health items, if you go straight for the Naked Blink Dagger, and then, I mean, he's going straight into a 4-staff now as well, hasn't even stopped to get treads or anything, or even getting a bit of armor off the Tranquil Boots, you've got very, very little survivability, so a couple of nukes there from Puck is all it takes to knock you out.
Bulldog continuing to play safe, and Alliance, it's this combination of, you know, avoiding stupid deaths. They try not to sort of get caught out too much, and also just putting a lot of pressure, especially in the mid game, this big push. They recall Bulldog back to the bottom, and now every outer tower down for Kaipi. Envy farming the jungle up there. I mean, he's making some progress. He's got Yasha, but really nowhere near Diffusal if that's what he wants, and this is going to be another amount of enormous pressure placed by Alliance. Just run in there, take about 1/3 of the tower HP off, 4-staff the Bear on out of there. Who's got the 4-staff here? Is it? No, I guess he just recalled it. Yeah, he just recalled it.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like Phantom Lancer, he's decided to go for a Yasha. He's not going for the Diffusal Blade first up. He's going to, he might just do Yasha and then a Diffusal Blade, or he might go for the full Manta. We'll see. But I mean, I mean, best case scenario, even if he got a Diffusal, let's say 20 minutes in, he just wouldn't have the survivability to even stand up in these fights regardless. I mean, he's got Double Walk, sure, but it's not going to help him because they've picked up an early gem, and even then, you know, a few dusts here and there, what are you going to do about it? It's such a problem. And they're just going to take Roshan now. Should be able to clean this up very easily. And there's not a whole lot that Kaipi can do to stop them. In fact, I don't even know if Kaipi really have an idea that they're doing it right now. Might scout it out with the Familiars.
They might have some inkling. Yeah, they did scout a little bit with the Familiars, but they have next to no vision. I mean, Alliance have done a good job of planning wards in the offensive. I mean, they've got this little high ground ward here. Possibly Triple for Envy? No, he's okay. And they actually even have a ward inside of Kaipi's base. So Alliance have such an excellent understanding of what Kaipi are doing at any given time. To his credit, I think Envy rightly realizes just how much control Alliance are exerting over this sort of bottom half of the map. And so, for a while now, he's mostly been farming the Dire jungle, which is counterintuitive, but actually very smart, because this is the one spot that Alliance don't really have good oversight of.
His classic anti-mage thing, although, oh, wait a minute, what's he doing here? Look at where he's farming right now. Yeah.
Well, that just gave the game up.
Yeah, I was going to say, mid lane though, it looks like we Dream Call down is going to catch Visage and his Familiars, but there we go, delivering Loda. Loda going to take an easy kill. Will get Fiend's Grip, but he should be able to get away from this. And there we go. The Flame Break also going to be tossed out. Loda doesn't give a crap. He's going to charge in there. Telekinesis, well, what's your name? Going to get blown apart there as well. Gets brought down very, very quickly. I was going to say, I mean, that's the kind of thing we'd seen Animage do. If there's a lot of pressure on his side of the map, just go to the enemy jungle and blink around it, farm everything else over there. What are you going to do about him? Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot.
But yeah, right now, Alliance just going to charge in here. Siege is tier 3 once again. Should be able to get it this time around, especially with Bane not interrupting the bear instead. So they should be able to bust down the tower pretty easily. There's just going to be a bit of harass back and forth there. Envy going to toss out a couple of Phantom Lances, but not really going to be able to stop them at all. And there we go. Tier 3. There we go. Melee Rack's going to go down. We've got a port in, though, from Bane. He is going to try and stop this. In fact, they're so desperate. Gank the bear. Kill it. It is worth 300 gold, of course.
Yep.
And Bulldog, does he have a spare one? No, not for 30 seconds.
Yeah. He actually had done the resummon, so a good job by Kaipi there protecting the racks. It only goes down to about a little under a third of its HP, so it'll regen up to about a third probably by the next time Alliance feel comfortable pushing, but good job by Kaipi, and honestly, I think they're holding on about as well as they can under the circumstance. The issue is still, I think it's more than 5 minutes before Phantom Lancer is really relevant in this fight. And Alliance are just layering on more and more items. So, of course, Loda has the Aegis. He's pretty close to his Sanjin Yasha, so he'll move around very, very quickly, able to chase that Phantom Lancer, even if he does happen to be trying to doppel walk away. And Bulldog adding on as well. I mean, he will have the Cuirass in about 1,500 gold, and that's going to be a very big addition. Once they layer that... Oh, actually, it's... No, it's going to be about 1,500 gold, but still... The simple fact that they're going to give this Lifestealer a lot more armor, de-armor, and attack speed is going to put this dual core in really the prime of its life, and well before Phantom Lancer can make a huge impact.
Yeah, I mean, granted, that was a pretty good, granted, Kaipi good work, they managed to hold on the racks, but at the same time, I still think they're pretty much buggered at this point in time. Right now, they're doing with the best thing they can, which is basically trying to pick heroes off. They're smoked up, they're just trying to gank heroes, and if you pick off 1, 2 heroes, even the supports, just keep picking them off, it's going to slow down Alliance and basically delay their pushes. So if they can keep doing that, it's going to buy them a bit more time. The question is, we're not going to be able to do that. It's the EGM now being relocated back to the mid lane, and here comes the push once again on the mid racks. They need to start teleporting back, and Mass, although it looks like Phantom Lancer is just going to keep farming. Yeah. And the Universe gets torn apart.
Universe, the first back there, sort of the canary in the coal mine as he just gets dropped incredibly quickly. When Puck hits you with a Waning Rift as Queen of Pain, I mean, there's a couple seconds in which you are more or less completely helpless, and Alliance taking advantage of that with Queen of Pain on the ground. Just not that much that Kaipi could do to muster defense at this point. The first set of racks, they didn't have a tier 3, so there was almost nothing. Maybe they can try to defend their tier 2 here, but it's going to be an uphill climb. Ironically, since they would be fighting downhill. The Lone Druid's still beating on this tower. Now they have Loda just tanking up on the high ground. Enfeeble up, but at this point, just due to levels, the Enfeeble isn't able to keep up with the damage that Alliance are putting out. Even if you have 2 Enfeebles up, Loda, with the armlet not even active, he's still got over 100 damage a pop, and he attacks quite quickly. Bulldog, even with the Enfeeble, the bear is going to be doing all of that Radiance burn damage. And 1 lane down, the tier 3 down on the top. Kaipi, do they have a game plan that they can enact at this point, or is this just playing for pride at this point?
I honestly, Phantom Lancer, I think they just went for way too of a late game lineup here, especially Alliance. I mean, they did the right thing. They just drafted a lineup that just completely and utterly trashes you by around the 20, 25-minute mark. And that's exactly what they've done. They can force those early 5v5s, force the early pushes, siege from a good distance with a bear, and of course they've got Aki there to spam the Illuminates up and downhill, and they get plenty of farm too. See, the thing is, by taking all these early towers, supports us, we're just going to come back to that because we've got the Blink in there, going to blow Batrider apart. Now, stand in. What's your name getting destroyed as well? The Sonic Wave going to come in there, but Queen of Pain getting Fiend's Grip there by EGM. EGM getting knocked back by the Flame Breaking. Healed up with the Mech there. He should be... No, he gets picked off there. He gets picked off by Soul Assumption, roots down on the bear, and Queen of Pain's already dead. There we go. We lose the Visage, and looks like another melee rack's going. But I was going to say, I mean, this is the thing, with 5 towers down, like 6 towers down like that, the supports for the Dire team have so much farm, it's not funny.
They really do.
I mean, basically, the early mech makes a huge difference. Like, you saw how much longer that EGM stood up in the fight just because he got all that extra armor, all that extra health.
And Blink
from the
Rubik
mech.
Also. I mean, that's a great,
and yeah, and Blink for Rubik.
And there we go. The GG out. That will be the first game of the Radiance Cup of TPL Season 5. So this is the 4th cup. Alliance, the champions of Cup number 3, going off to a very strong early start in Cup number 4. They take out Kaipi, they'll move to the semifinals. Triumph, do you know what our next game is?
I will have to check for in a moment, but just talking about this game, I mean, talking about the lineups, if Kaipi were to hold on late game, I think that something that they were missing and that they really needed was a big, like a big counter initiation tool, something like a Ravage. They needed something like that, a big threat, and then suddenly Alliance have really got to think twice about before they try and siege uphill. But I mean, against Kaipi's lineups, it's like, well, what's going to stop us? The Bear's just going to walk up there, you're going to Nightmare it, maybe enfeeble it, don't really care. Just walk up there and smack the tower a bit. But if you've got a big Ravage waiting, they're going to think twice about grouping up, even twice about charging up that hill. They're going to sit back and go, all right, let's try and get a bit more farm before we go up there, because we want a pipe as well, we want whatever else as well to go up there.
I agree. I don't know. I would be a little softer on Kaipi's draft. I think this is an okay draft. What they really lacked was, I just feel that they couldn't multitask as well as they maybe have needed to. The thing about these Alliance lineups where they have 2 cores and then you also need to control S4 is that you're, at every moment of the game, if you're Bane, if you're Visage, even if you're Batrider, you need to be doing something to actually try to win. Either you're beating Loda or pressuring him out of the lane, or you're ganking Bulldog, or you're just destroying S4 in the middle. Every moment that you're not doing one of those 3 things, you're moving towards losing, even if it doesn't feel like it. So Kaipi, they managed to actually trade kills, and they were doing okay. I mean, not great, the PL was behind, but the Batrider was getting some last hits, Universe was trading in the middle. But there was this sort of hidden ticking time bomb of the Lone Druid has complete free farm. So even if you handle Loda, even if you handle S4, you've got this problem that's going to just erupt at around 15, 16 minutes. And it sort of did. I mean, Alliance, they finished the Radiance and immediately just push every single lane. We don't care anymore. We know that there's not much you can do to us. And Kaipi, they take a fall. With 3 stand-ins, I don't know how much better they could have done, but they did okay.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I would have said, I mean, the bigger priority of shutting down would have been Bulldog for sure. It's because that early Radiance is just so hard to defend against, whereas the Loader, of course, big, like, Lifestealer, painful if he gets if he's really painful if he gets the early items, but then again, you've got Fiend Script to control him, you've got Nightmare, you've got Enfeeble, you can try and slow him down, whereas the Bear just running around radiancing everything, really, really nasty. And just to talk about our next game, I believe it is Quantic versus Mousebots coming up in roughly 10-15 minutes.
Alright, so yeah, Quantic versus Mousebots is going to be another exciting game. Of course, this is the Premier League Radiance Cup, 4th of 7 cups, plus a playoff series that we will have. If you want to check out the in-game ticket, it is of course available on the Dota store, as well as through the Premier League web shop, so you can definitely check that out, and of course, twitch.tv/thepremierleague. Covering games every single week that the tournament is going on. I'm Vykromond, my co-caster TriumphOfMan. Triumph, you want to quickly plug your Twitter?
I'm TriumphOfMan on Twitter, not that it really matters. I don't use it all that much.
Well, Twitter's the future, my friend.
Oh man, I'm like, people talk to me on Twitter, like, I mean, that the only person I talk to on Twitter is like LD, and that's it.
Well, that's, so if you want to get in good with LD, clearly you should follow TriumphOfMan on Twitter. And of course, I am Vykromond on Twitter, VYKROMOND. Quickly just taking a look, we do have a number of features you should check out for the Premier League's own social media. We've got a Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You can join the group on Steam. There is, of course, a web shop. Blaze has talked about that in past weeks. I won't go over it too deeply. And, of course, the newly redesigned for this season Premier League homepage. This site is actually pretty sweet. And the one thing I do want to promote this week is there is the ongoing contest. Sponsor for this season of TPL is Norton Antivirus Programs, a subsidiary of Symantec. And if you go to thepremierleague.eu and you click through to the contest page up here, you can check out all sorts of stuff with the contest. You can enter, win a TPL Season 5 package. Just put in a little bit of information here and hit submit, and you can check that out. That contest, I think, is running all season. Maybe somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. But thank you for watching, folks. We'll be right back into Game 2. I do apologize for the amount of FPS lag that we had in the first half of that game. I think it seemed better towards the second half, but I'd love to hear your feedback in Twitch chat. See you in about 10 minutes.